On the Arrowhead Studios website, there's a quote that reads, "A game for everyone is a game for no one," and holy f***, that line goes hard. Helldivers 2 is a hard S-tier co-op shooter. People love this game so much, it convinced Sony to reconsider its staggered PC release policy and actually seemed to find unity in the stupid console wars. This game is so well designed that it literally changes people's long-held beliefs, so let's break down how on earth it pulls this off.
All you need in battle is your head and your weapons.
It all starts with the setting, which does a lot more for this game than many might realize. Players take the role of John Helldiver, a faceless soldier recruited to serve Super Earth, protect democracy, and purge her enemies wherever they might hide. After so many other games trying to be nuanced, or try to hold up a mirror to the player, it's so great to just play as the good guys, who are charged with taking down an evil and destructive enemy. Super Earth is a utopia, with a booming economy, clean streets, and beautiful homes for everyone. What makes this even better is that Super Earth makes being a Helldiver as simple as possible. You don't have to worry about who to vote for, because managed democracy ensures no bad apples are put in charge. No damn socialist sympathizers, bug lovers, or enemies of democracy are put in any position of power, protecting our way of life for generations to come. Finally, a video game that isn't political. In all seriousness, the way Helldivers manages to bombard the player with propaganda is so fucking excellent. Everyone you talk to gives you such high praise and admiration, your drip is always on point, and you're treated like Super Earth's most elite fighting force. In reality, however, the average age of a Helldiver is 18, their life expectancy is 2 days, and you're essentially just an expendable fanatic, ready to die for an expansionist fascist government. After you complete the tutorial, the game literally rewards you by ceremoniously granting you your cape, symbolic indoctrination into the Helldivers. A clever detail is that in no time in the tutorial do you actually interact with a human being, meaning even your big moment of joining this supposedly prestigious fighting force is entirely automated. You're just a disposable grunt on an assembly line who drank too much Kool-Aid. In all honesty, however, the propaganda works, and after about 2 minutes, I was willing to give my life for Super Earth without question. As long as I could wear cool drip, shoot dumb bugs, and hug the homies, I was a very happy Helldiver. On top of this, your onboard screen constantly showing you product placements, made for some fun levity, in between mowing down waves of enemies. Here's one now.
If you're going to be a true Helldiver, you'll need to be able to travel anywhere democracy's enemies might be hiding. But at the same time, you don't want any of those bugs or robo-bastards picking up your trail. This is where Surfshark VPN comes into play. Surfshark allows anyone to virtually appear anywhere in the world with the push of a button, meaning the damn automatons could have you honed in on Malevelon Creek, while you're actually operating from Fenrir 3. The most obvious advantage to being able to digitally teleport is having the ability to access region-locked content, meaning you can pick any place in the universe, and Space Netflix will show you a whole new world of Super Earth-approved media. For a Helldiver, Surfshark is like wearing a rover backpack into the infinite hordes of the enemy. While you're surfing the galaxy-wide web, Surfshark will be hard at work protecting you from ads, trackers, and malware, always covering your back, and always keeping you safe. Now listen up, Helldiver. Surfshark is currently giving away 3 extra months for free when you use the code on screen. However, we all know that you degenerates tend to struggle with inputting codes correctly, which is why you can also click on the link below or scan this QR code to skip all that other nonsense. The best part of all is if your satisfaction level sits anywhere below 100%, Surfshark will give you a full refund anytime within the first 30 days. No questions asked. Surfshark VPN, the galaxy's #1 aid against the evil bug menace.
The player being expendable doesn't just extend to the setting, as when your boots on the ground, you can't go 10 meters without stumbling across something deadly. If you get snuck up on by a bug, stand on top of mortar, or stroll too close to air support, say hello to death. If an enemy jumps in front of your grenade, you don't see a landmine, or you leave the safety of an energy shield, believe it or not. Also death. If you fucking land in the wrong place, it's just death right away. No revives or nothing, just death. Helldivers is so great because of death. What's been so masterfully done, however, is that death in Helldivers is fun most of the time because it usually means either you or your teammates had done something really fucking stupid.
But I'm doing a hell bomb. Why is it going off here?
It did go up.
Oh. Why didn't it hit any of the objective? Oh, it's sitting here.
Get out.
But it's fucking, it's... Oh, swag. The hell bomb didn't go off yet.
Just because you're squishy, however, doesn't mean you're not offensively strong, which is where stratagems come into play. Powerful tools, which can give your small team a shot at taking out the hordes of democracy-hating enemies. This system is absolutely fucking excellent, and it's very reminiscent of kill streaks from Call of Duty. Unlike Call of Duty, however, when gaining a kill streak usually involves camping a corner for half a match, Helldivers just gives you this shit on a pretty moderate cooldown, because the developers know that calling down an airstrike never gets old, no matter how many times you do it. You also have to hand it to the devs for not imposing a hard limit for stratagems per mission. As anyone who's played Skyrim will tell you, even if you give players 50 potions, they're still not going to use them, just in case they might need them later. The sheer variety of these things is also super commendable. In another game, an airstrike might be a single ability, but Arrowhead Studios gave us 17 variations of calling down explosions from the sky, and all of them are different and unique. You might want a 500 kilogram bomb for wiping out structures quickly, a prolonged gas strike to cover your retreat, an orbital rail cannon for quickly taking down the biggest threat on the battlefield, or cluster bombs if you hate yourself and everyone around you. They didn't have to go this hard, but having so much variety lets you have different tools for different jobs, and it lets players have a more personal approach to handpicking how they are going to contribute. I'm personally more of a turret guy, so seeing this many options for how I want my stationary army to dispense democracy just brings a tear to my eye. Sometimes, however, it seemed as if the turrets would identify my teammates as filthy bugs, but if Super Earth's targeting systems believe them to be traitors, who am I to say otherwise? Pretty much everything in Helldivers has just been so meticulously crafted to be as cinematic and fun as possible. The diving animation is tuned perfectly, as it lets you look absolutely badass diving out the way of danger, but so fucking goofy when you jump from anything higher than a few meters. They didn't have to enable friendly fire at all, but they knew that if there were stakes to every bullet you fire and airstrike you call, there would be far more tension throughout the mission. In fact, it's not just friendly fire, because any source of damage can hurt friend or foe alike. On one occasion I managed to land my drop pod on top of a Titan to immediately take it down, but was promptly crushed by its corpse landing on top of me. The most memorable moments in gaming are almost never carefully scripted sequences, but rather when the world is tailored to let these moments happen organically, and Helldivers is meticulously designed to constantly make this happen. This game really just caters to the inherent male urge to be indoctrinated into a pointless cause and go die a horrific death, far from the comforts of home. The gameplay tuning also extends to things as simple as ammo management, as reloading will dump your entire mag, regardless of how many rounds are left inside. This leads to players keeping themselves fully engaged, even in moments where no enemies are around, because any time you can restock and get your bearings is such a valued commodity. It's so refreshing that time in itself is at a real premium in Helldivers, but it will never directly fail the player for being late. The mission timer is merely a countdown to when your support is shut off, meaning no more airstrikes, support weapons, or resupplies. As soon as that counter hits 0, you have to make do with whatever you can find, because your connection to the endless logistics network of Super Earth has just been severed. There's a real argument to be made that the game is simply built around managing time. Every bit of support you call requires players to have enough breathing room to input the correct code, and even then, it's not going to work unless you've managed your time well enough to have your stratagems off cooldown. Even using terminals isn't exactly hard, but if you force a player to input a simple code or solve rudimentary puzzles with a wave of enemies fast approaching, they are going to feel as if they are either the greatest hacker in the world or Steven Seagal, fatly pointing his gun as he uses a phone. You also can't help but respect this game's dedication to teamwork, as you don't necessarily need your fellow Helldivers to help you, but everything you do is made infinitely harder in their absence. Bunkers filled with supplies often need at least 2 players to open them. Some loadouts are much better suited to hood clearing, as opposed to taking down harder targets, and some weapons have an assisted reload feature, meaning a 2-man team immediately becomes 10 times as deadly as before. Even before you drop into each mission, your team is encouraged to coordinate their loadouts and plan their route to best hit their objectives. In one mission, I literally played with people whose language I didn't even recognize, but just by following their markers on the map, I knew exactly what the game plan was going to be. If the tools in place can make that possible, you can't help but congratulate the developers on a job well done.
The fuck, they fly?
They fly now?
It's no secret that Helldivers draws inspiration from a lot of different sources. Its setting is heavily inspired by Starship Troopers. Some of the vehicles look straight out of Halo. The cape aesthetic is very reminiscent of Destiny, and the end of mission Extraction throws you back to playing Titanfall. Extraction in Helldivers is always a highlight of every mission, because that last desperate scuffle to get a single person out alive is just a goldmine of clutch moments. On one mission, I was elected to draw aggro away from the ship so that my team might escape with our samples. Another mission I made it into the ship literally on fire, and you'll never forget the time your escape was thwarted by sheer bad luck. In one instance we were down to our very last supply token and were beset on all sides by the automaton menace, but by throwing a teammate as close to the ship as possible, we were able to get at least one man out alive. You can literally find yourself wading through hordes of enemies, unable to see anything that isn't trying to have you violently dismembered, not even able to see the ship through the sheer wave of bugs, and still somehow come out of that alive. These are the peak moments that are somehow so common in Helldivers, and the hype of beating impossible odds never gets old. Something that Helldivers does a lot better than many of its inspirations, however, is immerses you within your role in the war. Call of Duty's multiplayer doesn't do a good job at making you feel like a soldier. Battlefield doesn't make me feel like winning the current battle will mean anything for the greater war, and you can't hang out on a ship in Titanfall and do prep work for your next mission. Helldivers adds the war map to the game and invites players to take or defend planets for both the glory of Super Earth and the rewards that come with conquest. Before the developers release mechs into the game, they made players fight to control the planet which manufactures them. Not only did this unite the player base to the point of once again straining their servers, but it gave a real purpose to defending a planet outside of some simple currency. Needless to say, it took the Helldivers less than a day to take the planet of Tianquan, and players have been standing by for Titanfall ever since. There's a reason why players can name their ship, even when it has no real function, because seeing the name, Mother of Family Values, every time I dock, always makes me feel a sense of pride for a job well done. The game amps you up to be the fanatical fighters that you are, and by giving players a common enemy in which to fight, you feel part of something larger. Once again, there are around a million ways to kill your teammates in this game, but much like Deep Rock Galactic, the developers have used this immersion to trick players into being nice to each other. I'm sure the themes of fascism are going to be broken down countless times over the game's lifespan, but the developers have literally used the same methods of radicalization and unification on us within the game, and it fucking works. It's just so hard to not be in absolute awe that they've managed to pull that off. I think another way the devs have managed to curb toxicity is so simple, you have to wonder why you don't see it more often. In Helldivers, players are only allowed to tackle difficulties if they've beaten a campaign on the previous level, meaning if you're dropping into a mission with 3 other players on Helldiver difficulty, you know for a fact that they've all earned their right to be there. I've actually found some of the highest difficulties easier than the lower ones at times, because harder missions are solely occupied by players who have learned the game, unlocked better equipment, and are able to work as a team. In lower difficulties, you very much feel like you're a squad of grunts, bumbling their way through objectives, and getting themselves killed along the way. In higher levels however, you start to feel like you've all earned your place among the special forces, quickly taking down big threats early, completing objectives more efficiently, and sneaking past enemies when you're able to do so.
My anti-material rifle map. Oh.
All of this doesn't even mention the way this game handles progression, which is absolutely fantastic. Stratagems being level gated and unlocked with mission currency means you can play with a full stack and still have huge build variety as you're learning to tackle those harder difficulties. Meanwhile, locking most personal items like armor and weapons behind what is essentially a free battle pass is such a cool idea to always give players a trickle of content. A lot of people really don't like the entire concept of live service games as a whole, as the name tends to come with a lot of negative connotations, but Arrowhead Studios managed to dodge each and every one of them. Firstly, the game was very much feature complete right from launch, and the devs have banked up a ton of new content, designed to keep players immersed in an ongoing war. The in-game monetization is also pretty much fucking perfect, with the premium battle pass being purchasable with currency you can just earn in-game. Once again, it's not really even fair to call it a battle pass, because that also tends to give people the wrong idea, but that's the best comparison we have. It took me less than a month to grind up enough currency to afford the pass, but I probably won't even buy it, because they don't expire anyway. It's just there for whenever you want to commit to the purchase and grind for the items. Not only this, but because all pass progression is gated by the same currency you earn on missions, you have to choose which pass you progress through first, meaning buying the pass day one might even slow you down. If this wasn't fucking good enough, even the in-game shop items are usually around $3, and the maximum money you can spend on the shop itself is $20. As a reminder, you can just earn this currency in game anyway, meaning nothing is truly out of reach from just playing.
Alright, see if this works. Gee, I hope it does.
At no point playing Helldivers have I felt compelled to buy anything with real world currency, but at this rate, I've already bought a stack, purely because these developers fucking deserve my money. It's incredible how much better it feels to have a live service game that doesn't constantly have its hand out just to make you look a little different, but Helldivers legitimately has Titanfall to levels of monetization, and I sure fucking don't say that lightly. In fact, perhaps the most valuable resource in the game isn't the premium currency or war bonds, but rather common samples that you start collecting on your very first mission. There is no way to pay to win in Helldivers, because if you want better equipment, better stratagems, or upgraded ship modules, you just have to step into a pod and start liberating the galaxy for Super Earth. It's legitimately hard to even fault the developers for anything in this game, because even its flaws are the kind of shit that isn't hard to fix. Server issues plagued the game for weeks after its launch, but when the game is literally hitting player numbers that were 100 times higher than their previous title, you can't exactly blame them for being a victim of their own success. There are a number of minor bugs, and weapons and stratagems could use a serious level of balance, but again, this shit isn't even that hard to fix. It's not as if Arrowhead are mishandling anything either, calling in Sony engineers to help out, conservatively expanding their team to avoid layoffs, and even straight up telling customers not to buy their game until they fixed their server issues. They didn't even mention the addition of mechs until a week before the fucking release, which just shows some insane confidence in themselves. These are just a good bunch of people making a damn good game at a damn good price, and they legitimately deserve every fucking scrap of success they get. Steam's all-time peak players puts Helldivers higher than the likes of Destiny 2, GTA 5, and Skyrim, and I truly hope that more publishers can look at the immense success of Helldivers 2 and follow in its wildly successful footsteps. Absolute S tier, not even fucking close.
Oh, the hell bomb! I'm through them.